I'm back after a 18 or 19 month long hiatus. Much has happened, from travel to surgery to business ventures. I want to catch up and share with you why I took a break in the first place, where I'm at with my walk with God, and what I've been up to off these internet streets. Stay tuned, because all of that is coming up next. Let's take it back to the beginning. For the past few years, writing has been my safe place, my place of safety. When I was angry, I wrote. When I felt sad, I wrote. When I was happy, I wrote. When I prayed, I wrote. When I didn't know what to do, I wrote. Surprisingly, writing led me into many other avenues. That love extended to social media, where I would write captions and take cute photos. Then, eventually, I grew into blogging and just media in general. So many ideas would fill my head. Like, I thoroughly enjoy creating content and bringing ideas to life. Well, over 18 or 19 months or so ago, I felt led to take a break. Now, statistically, the blog was growing. I was finding my groove with recording. People were hearing the messages of faith and just being inspired. I mean, it was beautiful, right? Then I felt a change in my heart. I felt myself approaching a season of transition. And anyone that has ever been in transition, you'll know that it feels really weird. It's hard to find words and to articulate or even describe that feeling. But the best way I can put it is, you know you no longer belong where you are, but you also uncertain about what's next. And there is a general idea that God is taking you somewhere and it's good, but you almost feel clueless because you're like, how is God going to do it? Like I said, it just feels weird. Now, in retrospect, I understand it was a wilderness season, at least in the area of media. In my view, there were areas of my life that needed attention, and I wanted to devote myself fully to those areas. Those areas included my marriage, my family, and just business in general. I felt like I kind of figured out media to a certain extent, but I didn't want to take off in one area to the demise of another. Well, I wouldn't say fair, but one of my greatest cautions in life is to be a public success and a private failure. I would never want to be publicly known as a great woman that loved God and helped people and impacts, but privately neglecting my family, businesses, health, and just the work that God has entrusted me with in other areas in general. I truly believe that God values it all, and one is not more important than the other. I just needed to build consistency in all areas. Now, let me tell you, I was not enthused about this hiatus at first. It was not an easy decision. As a matter of fact, I was heartbroken. It was a great sacrifice because I love to create and I love to share the gospel, and I love you, you know? I love everyone that reads my blogs and watches these videos. I love seeing women and just people transform in general. Like, I generally breathe this. It energizes me. But you know, I did what I had to do. And honestly, eventually, I became comfortable with life outside of social media. I found purpose and pursued in other areas. But can I tell you, God came for me, okay? He said every sign, from a deep knowing inside of me to several prophetic words, like just letting me know, like, it's time to get back out there, you know? So here I am, officially back, and there's so much I've learned over this past year and a half, and so I want to talk to you guys about it. The first major lesson that became embedded in me during my time away was humility. I traveled a lot over the last year or so, and as I traveled, I was immensely impacted. Traveling to these various places really humbled me in a different way. Each place showed me this lesson differently. So I'll start with Cuba. I visited Cuba, not once, but twice within the span of my hiatus. I was excited during my first visit because, come on, it's Cuba. You know, I had never been. It was exciting. What I was not ready for was Cuba in the midst of a pandemic. There was limited resources in terms of food and internet, and we stayed with a family that was gracious and provided food to the best of their ability. But you know, in the Bahamas, we are spoiled. We are used to being able to buy what we want, when we want, you know, fast food in minutes, and that just wasn't an option there. Experiencing this made my heart bleed out for the locals because lack was their reality during this time, you know, during the pandemic. And there were grocery stores that had extremely long lines, But when they were led into the food stores, it was basically empty. And I mean, beans, water, just bare essentials. Immediately, I was humbled because I experienced what it was like being limited to my basic needs, you know? The first time I came back to the grocery stores in the Bahamas, even though it was expensive, y'all, I literally danced. Like, I was walking through the aisles, singing and dancing. I was never so happy to spend my money. Now, even till this day, I rarely complain about food stores and prices anymore, even with inflation, because I understand that some people would give anything to switch places with me. And that experience also helped me to be more sensitive and to be in a state of mind of how to help those in need. So while I was there, I tipped as much as I could, and I tried to be encouraging when I interacted with the locals. Then there was Canada. Canada was a family trip. My sister was having a baby, so of course, as a family, we had to represent. Turn up, turn up, turn up, turn up. Wait, I don't know if people say that anymore, but anyway, I do. Turn up. So y'all, I have a confession. Come closer. Okay, I'm definitely a little bit of a Grinch. I know y'all see me smiling on camera, but baby, I love my space. I'm an extreme introvert to the point I even wonder if it's healthy. Like, I struggle a lot with being sensitive to those around me, and I just like being caught up in my own world, in my own space, in my house. But the good news is over the years, I've become aware of this. So I've been really stretching myself in this area. Like, I purposely and intentionally try to live sacrificially with those around me, especially my family. Now, it doesn't mean that sometimes I don't have feelings of wanting to be left alone in my own world. You know, the introvert ickiness kicks in. But Canada was yet another opportunity to sacrifice, you know, for others. I planned the trip. I assisted with planning the baby shower. I hosted the baby shower. And man, like, I cried. It was such an honor to show up for my sister like that. And we're still talking about humility here. Every time I stretch myself and go against my Gilbertiness, it humbles me. It reminds me that life is not all about me. It's about others. It pays to be selfless because what you impart into someone else can last a lifetime. And that seed can grow into a beautiful tree. But it takes going beyond yourself. Next up, Las Vegas. Now, Las Vegas was a business sister trip. Business sisters. Business sisters. All right, so my sisters and I went to Vegas on business. Y'all stay with me. By day, we attended a trade show and we were all about business. But by night, baby, it's Vegas, okay? So we attended some shows. We did Circus Delay, we did Michael Jackson, we did a magic show. But here's where the message of humility came in again. It taught me the power of networking and building businesses for the kingdom. While I always had thoughts about business and even pursued it to some degree, inspiration filled the air as I observed other professionals maneuver in faith who likely do not identify as Christians, or they may not be people of faith. And I got downloads there. It's like the art of business and how simple it was. It clicked for me. It became clear. It was this trip that solidified my confidence. My inner thoughts screamed. It was like, Berta, you can do this. You can steward the gift of entrepreneurship God has given you. You can use it not just to simply enrich yourself, but to impact the lives of every person across your path. The only limits you have are the ones you're putting on yourself. Humble yourself, lift this gift to God, and let Him use it for the kingdom. It was like the light bulb just went off, and that was a wrap. Like, business mode activated, okay? Now, before I move on to the next major lesson I learned during my hiatus, if you want to learn more about hearing the voice of God, as I mentioned a few moments ago, then make sure you click the link in my description box and the comment section below, because I have a free guide that will dive deeper on how to hear the voice of God. This guide will walk you through hearing the voice of God initially, what is the voice of God, and just everything in between. Again, if you want to make sure to get that guide, click the link in the description box below. Now, with that out of the way, let's move on to the next major lesson I learned on the importance of healing and wholeness during my hiatus. Aside from traveling, if there was another theme for this whole hiatus, it would be healing, both emotionally and physically. And let me tell you, the word healing in itself sounds really soothing, right? It implies that there is peace because whatever you are healing from, it's over, it's gone. Well, child, No one ever told me that healing is also incredibly painful, and you have to be so intentional about it. So here's how it goes. Any form of healing first requires a diagnosis. Like, you can't be healed from anything without first identifying what you need healing from. And it's this awareness in itself that brings on the pain. Because in one moment, you thought you were fine, right? It's like, I'm good. I'm good. You're in survival mode. And then you finally realize, nope, everything's not okay. I got issues and there's something. This really hit me because physically I received a diagnosis that I'm not quite ready to share the details of, but I will eventually. But I will say this, it rocked my world in a way that I didn't think possible. It was a rough one. It reminded me that while God loves me deeply, while I'm a Christian that loves God and does my best to live for Christ, it does not mean that I have a perfect life. My version of the road to happily ever after and God's version is quite different. My version, y'all stick with me, it usually looks like I pray, right? And I believe, right? And immediately God makes it happen because that's my daddy. That's my dad, right? And I don't mind waiting a few months, but not usually years. But his versions requires me to wait and work and trust and develop and process, endure difficulty. Sometimes there's discouragement. I have to grieve my expectation. There's a process and I still have to believe no matter the outcome. And I'm still working on this, but I've gotten much better at accepting this truth. Even when my feelings does not agree with God's way and his version, I really in my heart believe and know that God loves me. Like, I know that to my core. I know that he knows best. I know that it won't always be like this. Like, it has to be greater because not only is he my father and he loves me, but he's God and he's greater than I can fathom. And if he says all things work together for good, I have to hold on to that. I have to believe that it will. And once I stick to that, my feelings cannot change this truth that I carry in my heart. Right now, physically, I've not completely received my promise or my complete healing, but I know that I'm definitely en route. And I'll be sharing more about my journey in the upcoming video. So that's physical healing. Next up is the big one, all right? It's emotional healing. And as difficult as the journey to heal physically has been, the real pain came from the journey of emotional healing. Now, I started actively pursuing this journey during the hiatus because life was getting real and y'all, mental health and trauma, it exists. It really does. And in my views, maintaining your mental health and emotional health is just as important as our physical health. While I believe in God, like truly, I believe in fasting and I believe in prayer and I believe in the church, I believe in community. I also believe that we have a part to play, and my part for my emotional healing was therapy. And that looked like reliving the past, reflecting on my mistakes, identifying trauma, processing the pain, learning to forgive others and myself. And this led to a new discovery of who I am. I really value becoming whole in every area so that I can be the best version of myself as a wife, as a daughter, as a sister, as an aunt, as a friend, as an employee, businesswoman, influencer, child of God, minister. I mean, whatever hat you want to put on me. And if I'm broken, I'll break people. And I have broken people. And that's not who I want to be. I want to be better each day that I get up, that God allows me. I want to strive to be the best person of myself. So I'm willing to do the work to get there. And honestly, it has been one of the most difficult and grueling journeys of my life to date. But simultaneously, I don't know how this works, but it's also been one of the most rewarding journeys of my life. And although I'm still processing because healing is continual, now more than ever, I have a stronger sense of who I am and who I'm becoming and why God allowed me to experience some of the things that I did. I've gained clarity on the direction God is moving my feet to go, and as crazy and messy as it can be, like I see his hand in all of it. I know more than ever that he is with me and he's leading me. Most of all, because my journey to healing has been bigger than me and so out of my control, I know it only could have been God that carried me, meaning I did not have all the answers and I still don't. I couldn't control my diagnosis. I couldn't control the effects of trauma. It was only God that could have gotten me through that period. Like, it was so much larger than me. And really, I have no words except it was only God, you know? The test of this hiatus has really led me to the path of humility and healing. Now that you've heard what I've been up to on this hiatus, check out my backstory on how I came to Christ and how this entire beautiful journey began. There are so many videos coming up next, but you can start there. So thanks for watching. And until next time, be strong, be courageous, serve God wholeheartedly.